Okay, Dean Potter, we're sitting here with the Vanderbilt Legacy Luminaries series. I guess it's the proper word is Luminaries. And out of all the luminaries that I've been exposed to at Vanderbilt in my 42 years, you are the paragon of the word luminary. You are the perfect definition of that. So here we are at your farm out in the country, southwest of Nashville, right? So let's start with the origin story. That's what they call it now. You know, they call it an origin story. So where did the KC Potter story start?
Well, it started in Fallsburg, Kentucky, which is an area in Lawrence County. There's a famous singer from there. 1939, I was born. My mother was from Martin County, Kentucky, which was a coal mining area, and her father was a coal miner, and so my father, his people were all railroaders. So you either hauled the coal up there, or you dug it. One of the two.
How does the clerk end up at Vanderbilt?
So I had 3 job offers. And I got a call from assistant to the dean of men at Vanderbilt. And they said, we've got a job opening up as an assistant dean of men. Are you interested? I said, yes. Just like that.
Wow. That's a lot of responsibility for you're 24 years old when this is happening.
Exactly, yeah.
My goodness.
24 years old, I had 1.5 million square feet of space to see that it was maintained, and 5,000 people between 18 and 22 living in it. So the campus was changing very quickly, very fast. Women's rights were going up the board. Mr. Lewis, who just passed away about a year ago, he was quite active in Nashville.
John Lewis, yeah, okay.
He was a student there, and all of that was happening. Students were joining those things downtown, and Chancellor Hurd was quite good with that, and no problem.
Right, and I believe that might have been the time that the Impact series was started, and some
the
very
Impact was going strong.
Some prominent people came, including Martin Luther King, I believe.
Martin Luther King was there, and Carmichael was invited by the students.
Stokey Carmichael.
Yeah. Yes.
The respect that you had on campus, and also your knowledge of the student body. A lot of these things were discussed before they occurred, right?
Oh yeah.
They were contained because you acknowledged the right to protest.
Yeah, right.
And then you said, okay, but if you protest, you have these are the boundaries.
That's right. And you have to let everybody talk that wants to talk.
Right.
That was another thing. Because every once in a while you'd have one guy stand up and say, no, we're not going to listen to you. Right. And I would stand up and I would say, yes, you are. Or I'll close it down.
We live our lives in these phases, these periods, and this was the third act, the KC Potter third act, and it is the Lambda House and the legacy that you leave Vanderbilt. So how did that evolution come about?
Well, of course, I was living not as a gay person, but as a straight person. Even though I was gay.
Right.
And I'd been gay all my life. I tried to date women, it didn't work. But that's all right. I'm going to retire one day, and I'll go and to my farm. And but then the deaths There were a number of them that were mysterious to me. I read in the Hustler a letter to the editor, and it said, and this was from a law student, a medical student, and a boy who would be senior in the College of Arts and Science the following year. And it was to the effect complaining about a publication that said, don't be in the park at night because that's when the queers come out. I said to myself, I'm going to find out who those people are and meet with them. So I went to my boss, who at that time was Johann Madsen. Johann was the Associate Provost for Student Affairs, and also the husband of a girl I was in school at Berea with, who remembered me from then, because I was a big senior and she was a freshman. But anyway, I went to Johann and I said, "Okay, Johann," I said, "look at this." I said, I'm going to send for these students and have lunch with them and see what we can do for next year." It was right at the end of the school year. And he said, "Vanderbilt's not ready for this." I said, "Oh no," but to myself, "Oh no." But I was determined. But I didn't say another word. And then he said, "Do it." Johann was that kind of guy. He would analyze it and then do it. So we did it. And I met all three. They came, the medical student and the law student. And I suggested that I help arrange a group to help gay students. So the next fall, the law student had graduated. The medical student had transferred to another medical school. I had the senior. So he and I went, I gave him $50. I said, "Take out as big a hat as you can afford in Hustler, and we will have them call a number, and then we will decide whether to let them come to the meeting," because we didn't know what would happen.
Right.
And so I said, "Look, let's use my house. Anybody shows up and gives us a hard time, I'll give them a hard time back." And so we started meeting in West Side Road. We did it every Thursday night at 6 o'clock. That school was in session. We had all sorts of people there, and we attracted student after student after student who was living lonely lives. And they couldn't stop talking once they got in the same room,
Right.
because they didn't have anybody else to talk to.
Right.
And one little boy showed up at my door. He was a freshman, and he saw who I was that was answering the door, and he began to back down the steps.
Right.
He was afraid, and I said, "You're in the right place. Come on in." And he did, and we're still friends.
And I think anybody that would visit there today, which the door is open, would have the same reaction that I did. Was just what a welcoming and safe place.
A change.
It is,
of
and
the
you
university.
can communicate with like-minded people without the judgmental eyes
Yeah.
and of others. And at a school like Vanderbilt, you hope that those judgmental moments are fewer and fewer
Yeah.
as we move on. And maybe it's a bigger safe space. You know, the movie that you and Richard participate in or made, you know, talks about your work today, which is in this community, a rural community, which has the same demographics as big city with
Yeah.
respect to people who are gender non-binary, who are on, not cisgendered people, and your presence here is also, and counseling is also very valuable. You haven't stopped working, is my point.
I think that's true, and uh, uh, my minister brings me people on occasion who are troubled, and so Richard and I sit them down and we just tell them, here's how you got to do it, because if you don't, you will always have this thing over your head. Their situation is bad.
Right, right. So I don't think it's a stretch to say that lives are being saved through these activities. There's lives being saved, and certainly
I think so.
lives being changed.
Especially when you get a grandmother come up to you and you don't know who in the world she is, and she starts saying, "I know who you are, and I want you to know that I watched that movie, and now my granddaughter and I are in much better shape relation-wise, and I
Great.
want to thank you for doing
That's
that."
great. That's so good. You've seen 8 decades plus, six of those decades with Vanderbilt. Uh, when you look back, do you have moments of pride, moments of regret? You wear the tie and this jacket. There's some love and respect. You want to talk a little bit about the legacy of Vanderbilt and what you hope might happen in the next 60 or 70 years, as well as what happened?
Well, it's never been seen as a Southern school. It's always been more modern than the typical Southern school. Uh, 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 I think they've arrived as far as my vision will let me see in terms of treating people with respect and dignity, no matter uh, what color their skin or whatever, period. Um, that you just you can't judge by artificial standards. Um, I don't know what else is in store for them, uh, but I am proud of having been part of everything that we did.
This here is a graphic representation of, of a questionnaire that went out to all alumni attitude survey. And it was question 12, name one person who had a special impact on your experience as a student. And you'll see that there are people that we've talked about today, John Lax, Cass Kowalczyk, uh, Robert Birkby, a friend of mine, Alexander
Good
Hurd.
man.
But this is weighted by the answers, the number of answers, and the biggest name on this whole grid here, which includes everybody, is K.C. Potter. That says something. This is alumni. All living alumni got this survey. Not all living alumni filled it out, but the majority of them said that you were the most meaningful.
And all of those people are worthy.
Oh, they
The
are.
person who had the most opportunity, though, was living on campus.
Uh-huh. Well, that's nice of you to say. I think you would have. I think you could have lived in Green Hills.
But I am immensely proud of that. If pride is a sin, then I'm guilty of it, because I am. I'm very proud of that. Somebody sent me that.
Yeah, that's
And,
really nice.
and all those people on there are good people. They are all good people who did well by students. And I'm glad to see their names on there.
It's sometimes I think there's some saying, which of course I'm not well read enough to remember exactly, but you're known by the company you keep, and that's pretty good company,
Yeah, it is.
right?
One of the people on there, if I remember correctly, she gave me a painting that she did. It's in there by the steps. If you take it down off the wall,
Uh-huh.
it has a drawing of a tree on the back,
Uh-huh.
and it was presented to me as her tribute to me, saying that my gentle branches have been extended to everybody.
Wow. You've given a lot to us, and speaking for the entire body of students from 1962 to who are still, and people that are still impacted by you, we got to thank you for that.
If anybody gets a message from having to listen to me and you for as long as they have, I hope that message is that we do not approve of putting people in a box. That we deal with people as friends until they prove otherwise, and then we make our judgments based on that and not on the color of their skin or whatnot.
Or orientations.
I also want to say to my students that you're still my students. I still love you, uh, and that it was an honor to serve you as your dean.
Might be time for us to turn off the lights.
All right, I'm finished.